The news has traveled to Georgia, this time not about shootings or attempted, I don't know what happened earlier today, but there was a young man arrested with a gun in an Atlanta grocery store. But this is a little bit different. This is about voting rights. This is about Governor Kemp and what he's trying to do to voting rights, as he not only guts the Voting Rights Act, not only takes away, but he does his best to demolish any gains made by the Democrats to further get out the vote. That's right. That's exactly what he's done. Now, Georgia has enacted sweeping changes to its voting laws. And here's why voters are upset. Here's why Georgians are upset, and why all Americans should be upset, because this infringes on our right to vote. As some have remarked, all of the gains, all the hard work that were put into place, they had certain rules, and somehow the Democrats are able to get out the vote anyway. And now, once they realize that, Republicans come back and say, we got to change those rules. The rules weren't made for you to win. If you win, we got to change them. It's that simple. Georgia enacted a sweeping overhaul of its election law on Thursday, making it the first 2020 battleground state to introduce new voting restrictions, as Republicans have put forth similar bills in dozens of state legislators across the country. That's what we got to realize. This is not a one-off. This is the plan. The seeds were already planted by Donald Trump when he said, oh, the election integrity, oh, they're stealing it, oh, the steal, stop the steal, they're stealing on our election, they're letting people vote, letting people write in votes, they're letting people vote, letting people mail in ballots. This is wrong. People are stealing. The Republicans have yet to introduce any widespread, any more than a simple one-off here and there voting discrepancy. But you don't need to produce evidence as long as you have propaganda to run interference and spread misinformation to the masses. And even though a lot of those entities have walked back their lies that were only meant to help Donald Trump in the short term, the narrative is still out there in the ecosystem, amongst the QAnons, amongst the MAGAs, amongst the Trumpers. Voting rights advocates have decried Georgia's new laws in an attempt to influence whose votes are counted and suppress turnout. Historically, it's been suppressing turnout against black voters, and that's where we are again. Black and brown voters who helped Democrats clinch a narrow victory in the recent presidential and Senate elections. Georgia voters came out in record numbers in the 2020 polls, helping Biden secure a win in the state by just 12,000 votes, folks. This is crucial. I know people's eyes want to gloss over whenever we talk about election, but understand, it's the foundation of stealing an election which gives the power to the particular party that is seeking the power. It's very important, Johnson. I, unlike Democrats, tend to believe that the importance of elections, the integrity of elections, doesn't just start at the general election. It should also be implemented during the primaries. And that's when the Democrats go silent. Because the Republicans get handsy during the general, but the Democrats get handsy during the primaries. You do understand what I'm saying. So what, Tim? What is exactly wrong? What is Kemp doing is so bad, Tim Black? The measure gives the state Republican majority legislator more control over county election boards, which certify the election. It also adds voter ID requirements for absentee ballots, limits access to ballot drop boxes while codifying them into state law. It expands early voting days for the general election, criminalizes the practice of line warming. What's line warming? You mean somebody just gets in line for you and then you get to come back and get in line? No. It's somebody giving you a coffee while you're in line or a donut. You know, making your stay in a 4, 5, 6, 7 hour line long bearable. For some reason, Kemp thought, we can't have that. So we already got, anybody watch any tape of the long ass lines in Georgia, voting lines in predominantly black and brown areas? Anybody watch this? So we got people standing in line for hours and hours upon hours. And now we want them to not have any comfort whatsoever. There's already no shelter from the elements. Now we want them, if you give them a glass of water, you're violating the voting rights. Subject to arrest. Not a fine, criminalizes it. Criminalizes. No more handing out food and water to voters, standing in long lines, bans the use of provisional ballots for most cases, and out-of-precinct voting, shortens the runoff elections, and limits the use of mobile voting buses. Now, as I reported earlier, this is part of a nationwide effort to suppress the vote. It's going to be strict voter access that is taken over or taken off since President Trump baselessly called into question the legitimacy of the 2020 elections. As of February 19th, state lawmakers were pushing 253 bills that would restrict voter access in 43 states. You heard that right. You heard it right, Johnson. For those people that say voting don't matter, none of this matters, if it did matter, Johnson, why would Republicans put together 253 pieces of legislation in 43 states to stop you from voting? Oh, I know. That's just to make it look like they care about you voting. That's all that is, Tim Black. God, Tim Black, you're so Superman. They just want you to think they care, so they all wrote legislation, right? To throw you off the trail. Sure, Banana Peel 66. Peter Cottontail 22. I get it what you're saying in my Twitter comment section. I understand, man. You're so right, man. Go with God. You can't argue with people that are ignorant. Not unless they want to be educated. Now, the Republicans, of course, say there's no suppression in the bill. Voting rights advocates insist the measure will still be disastrous for Georgia's democracy, particularly the provision that shifts power away from local counties towards the state when it comes to certifying the election. It makes local counties that the legislator considers to be struggling less flexible in adopting quick changes related to issues like polling place closures and expanding language access for voters. So let's say you're in the county and you notice something going on, like, I don't know, some voting machines going down, or you need more people to come in and translate because you got a lot of Spanish-speaking voters coming in and we're having problems communicating. You used to be able to just contact the county and look, hey, Sue, get Dorothy on the phone, tell them what's going on, we need to get some more people down here. Now, you got to go through the state. The state be like, he's not in right now. Can I take a message? Understand, whenever the people, the first responders, are no longer the people that you contact, you got to contact the state. You add in more bureaucracy. That is intentional to slow response. So the state's not going to come down and do it. Then the state will get on the phone with the county and say, maybe you could go down and see what's going on. But don't do anything. Report back to us what's happening, and then we'll make a decision, and then we'll get back to you. These types of bureaucracies are slimy ways to achieve a particular result. Capiche? We got to spell it out for you. Okay. Now, here goes some things that's specific about this, because this is very long, okay? But I want people to be educated. We may not be the biggest. We want to be the best. One of the issues that we're faced with, that we hear people like Kundris Owens complain about all the time. Why you got to show an ID? They're talking down to black people like black people don't have IDs, like we don't have access to IDs. This goes to show how poor people, you're disconnected from poor people, you're disconnected from some working people. Not everyone has IDs. For instance, the new law requires a driver's license number, a state ID number, or a photocopy of an electric upload of an ID. Now, just to get an absentee ballot, Andrew Young, executive director of the ACLU of Georgia, points out that there are 200,000 registered voters in Georgia without a Georgia's license, driver's license. 200,000. Okay, let me explain. The last election was decided by 12,000 votes. If just, I don't know, do the math, if only, 5% of that 200,000 stayed home, right? No, 10%. 10%, that'd be 2,000. No, a little bit more than that. 20%? What's the number? 200,000 divided by 10, 2,000. There we go. 20,000. There we go, yeah. If 10% stayed home, a little bit more than 10%, and 12% stayed home, Republicans won. Boom. Trump would have won Georgia. That's simple. Okay, despite the controversy leading up to its passage, the Georgia law called the Election Integrity Act of 2021, it sailed through the GOP-controlled legislature along party lines. The House passed the measure with a vote of 100 to 75, and the Senate agreed to its changes on a vote of 34 to 20. So this is what happened. It went through, but there was also a problem. There was pushback. Pushback in the form of a representative wanting to see the proceedings, wanting to oversee it, wanting to see Kemp actually go through with disenfranchising voters, using sharecropper, Jim Crow tactics in 2021. We got a little film of that. Horrible stuff, Johnson.
Why did she have to step back?
The governor is signing a bill that affects all Georgians. Why is he doing it in private, and why is he trying to keep elected officials who are representing us out of the process?
Exactly.
I know you don't have any control over anything other than suppressing people's right to vote and using your guns and your abilities to talk.
Yeah, you said you give her one more time, like you're going to do something. Are you serious?
No, you are not.
No. She's not under arrest.
For what? Under arrest for what? For trying to see something that our governor is doing? Our governor is signing a bill that affects all Georgians, and you're going to arrest an elected representative. Why does the governor have more power than a representative? Why are you arresting her?
That's what I'm asking.
Stop arresting her.
Why are you arresting
Why?
her?
Cite the violation. Cite the code. What is she in violation of? I want you to cite the code. Cite the code. Cite it. What are you? Cite the code. Cite the code. Cite the code. Why are you arresting her? Under what? Under what?
Back up. Get out of the way.
Under what law are you arresting her? Why are you arresting her? Why are you arresting her?
Stop!
Tell us now, why are you arresting her? Cited.
I guess he was having a bad day, Johnson. That's why. He's having a bad day, obviously. Brian Kemp's in there trying to sign away black people's rights, stop blacks from voting, and you guys are out here being all black and knocking on the door. And just because you're elected officials doesn't mean you have any ability to see what I'm doing. Talk about overhanded, heavy-handed, authoritarian rule. So much for democracy, huh? Georgia State Representative Park Cannon was arrested and removed from the Georgia Capitol after passage of the state's sweeping elections bill restricting voting access. I want to know why this was behind closed doors anyway. You couldn't have at least members of the body, the governing body, in the room, in the courtroom, while you sign this? After being told twice to stop knocking on the door in light of the press conference occurring inside, and twice warned that she would be arrested if she did not stop, Representative Cannon refused to stop knocking on the door. Oh my God, he's trying to make it sound all serious. She refused to stop knocking on the door. She was knocking so hard on that door, it was crazy. You do realize we have footage, right? She wasn't banging on the door like a 2-year-old. She knocked on the door like a grown person. Knock, 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 knock. Give you time to answer. Knock, 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 knock. She didn't do a no-knock warrant like they did in Breonna Taylor. Just a regular knock on the door. They want to exaggerate this. Remind you guys, she's not doing this for her. She's doing it for her constituents. Her constituents want to know what is going on. And why is Kemp, Brian Kemp, I called him Jack Kemp, and there's dead. Why is Brian Kemp signing this without the actual presence of constituents in the governing body? Ms. Cannon was doing her job, Johnson. That's all she was doing. Simply that. Nothing more. There's going to be some bootlickers out there. Well, you got to bow to authority. Now we think authority is wrong. In this case, he is wrong. Georgia U.S. Senator Raphael Warnock also slammed the bill signed Thursday for restricting voter access. He visited Cannon at jail. His office said in the statement that Cannon is a parishioner at Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, where Warnock served as a senior pastor. Now, here's the rub, guys. Cannon, Representative Cannon, who only knocked on the door. Knocked on the door. She didn't bust down the door. She didn't grab metal poles and hit cops with it. There's no bear mace. Nothing. Just a little black hand knocking on the door. Cannon was arrested and charged with 2 felonies. Felony obstruction of preventing or disrupting General Assembly session. The affidavit states that Cannon was charged with disrupting General Assembly session because she knowingly and intentionally did by knocking the governor's door during session, signing a bill. You knew we was in here, and you knocked on the door anyway. That's a felony, Johnson? The other was a felony obstruction charge because they said she knowingly and willfully hindered Officer Dorval and Officer Sanchez of carrying out their official duties. Because they had to, lock her up. So so she prevented them from doing their job of standing there because they had to waste their time locking her up, which is also a felony, Johnson. Yeah, it's a felony for a cop to violate your rights. You're forcing the cop to violate your rights because he got other stuff to do, like drink coffee and eat donuts and stand by the door. How dare you make that officer not stand there and do nothing? Make him violate your rights like that. Folks, there are... I remember they charged one black guy with vandalizing a squad car because he bled on it after they beat him till he started bleeding. I'm not playing, man. The law is a mother, and not a good mother either. Attorney General Gerald Griggs is representing Cannon. Griggs said he was at the Fulton County Jail working to bond Cannon out after she was booked on felony obstruction charges. We are getting her out of the jail currently. We're gathering information on the case as well. Just some background knowledge, Cannon is his youngest lawmaker at age 24 and one of 3 openly gay lawmakers when she was elected to the State House in 2016. She has opposed the state's so-called Religious Freedom Bill on the grounds that it would lead to discrimination against gay and transgender people, as well as Georgia's so-called Heartbeat Bill, which sought to ban abortions at the detection of a fetal heartbeat, occurring as early as 6 weeks into a pregnancy. Cannon's arrest comes after Kemp signed the sweeping elections bill into law Thursday, made Georgia the first presidential battleground state to impose new voting restrictions following Joe Biden's victory there. I just want you to know that this is such an atrocity, such a level of hypocrisy. Do you realize that there are insurrectionists, such a heavy term, I don't know what you want to call them, the Capitol invaders, many of them receive lesser charges for breaking into the U.S. Capitol to do what? To stop a vote, to stop the ratification of an election. They receive lesser charges for forcefully breaking windows, making people run. As far as I could tell, at no time were the cops at any fear. Neither was, I couldn't tell because the doors closed. I don't think Kemp was worried. I don't see him ducking behind things, trying to, shield himself from the evil, bad Mrs. Cannon that's going to come in there and kick his ass. I don't think that's it. There are no nooses outside. No one's yelling, we're going to hang him. Nothing. Just one person. Well, there were other people there too. Just one person knocking on the door. That's it. Was enough for you to trump up charges. And this is not the first time Kemp has done this. Then a couple years ago, Kemp charged a group of lawmakers with felonies for nothing. Huge waste of time. All right. Look, to strip away people's right to vote is a horrible thing. To pretend that asking to witness, now the lawmaker asking to witness this proceeding, to pretend that is equivalent or even rises to a higher level of an infraction than all the Trump supporters running up in the Capitol, to me, folks, is a crock of bullshit. That's what it is to me. Make your mind up, guys. Talk in the comment section below. Do you see what Miss Cannon did, what House Representative Cannon did? Do you see that on par with what the Capitol invaders did? Let me know in the comment section below. I'm Tim Black. Follow me here. Become a member of the Wolf Pack. A member of the Wolf Pack. Do that today. We call it straight.
Don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe. Don't be fooled by corporate media talking heads misleading the people. Get your news and information from an entity that keeps it real. Tim Black. Tim Black is the host of The Tim Black Show. Independent news that leaves you informed, inspired, and sometimes entertained, but always in the know. Go to timblacktv.com and sign up today. The Tim Black Show is news for people who can't stand the news. See you there.